Not hiding the focus location is crucial for users to know where they are on the page. In this unit, we're looking into Success Criterion 2.411, which explains Focus Not Obscured Minimum. I'll detail the intent of this criterion and what it actually means, explain the impact to the user, the criterion addresses, some ways it could be passed, ways it won't, and follow with the summary of what you need to do to pass. By the end of the unit, you'll have a solid understanding of why it matters, understand the user's impact and how to pass the criterion. 2.411 Focus Not Obscured Minimum is a criterion supporting keyboard users and those users with cognitive and memory impairments. It's a AA criterion, and to pass, ensure a UI component that receives keyboard focus is not entirely hidden due to author-created content. If the author-created content can be positioned by the user, only worry about the initial position, and content opened by the user may obscure the component in focus as long as focus follows to the open component. Knowing the current focus position is crucial when users can't see items in focus. Without this clear reference, they may not know how to proceed. If sticky headers, footers, or an overlay of some sort is used and these hide keyboard focusable content beneath, this becomes problematic. Whilst the criterion only requires partial visibility of components receiving focus, in other words, interactive components can be partially hidden by other content, for best practice visibility, none of the components receiving focus should be obscured with new content. The criterion benefits all keyboard users, particularly some users with the cognitive or memory impairments, by ensuring that it's easy to identify where the focus position is at all times. So we know the problem the criterion attempts to solve, but what exactly is the impact to a user? This is Julie. She has limited movement in her dominant hand and prefers to use the keyboard when navigating web content. When pop-ups and dialogues open, she constantly finds it difficult trying to determine where the keyboard focus has moved to, and it becomes a fatiguing experience trying to backtrack to find the last known position of the keyboard focus. The criterion requires content doesn't obscure other keyboard focusable elements. In other words, avoid sticky headers, footers, and apply floating content which can hide other focusable elements carefully. The success criterion is only concerned for content which is placed in its initial position, where it must not hide other focusable elements. Content positioned by the user after opening will pass this criterion. Correctly constructed dialogues following ARIA authoring guidelines will always pass this criterion, even though they may completely hide interactive content behind it. This is because focus is moved to the dialogue when it's shown, and a user cannot interact with any other content beneath as the keyboard interaction is constrained. Content which hides other interactive elements and is dialogue-like, but which doesn't constrain keyboard interaction or have any other dialogue behavior, will fail this criterion. Interactive content hidden behind the pop-up becomes focusable and is itself hidden. So what exactly does passing this success criterion look like? Since the content is moved by the user and repositioned over other focusable elements, this passes. Since a control when open constrains focus and is positioned above other focusable elements until the interaction has taken place, this passes. Since a dialogue has been coded correctly against ARIA guidelines and constrains keyboard focus when open, this passes. What does failing this success criterion look like? Since focus is not constrained to content within the footer, interactive elements beneath become focusable yet remain hidden. This fails. Sticky headers, footers, overlays, in fact anything that completely obscures interactive focusable elements which isn't dismissible is a problem for users. Always ensure content appearing above focusable elements is dismissible and constrains the keyboard focus, and consider introducing a design which relies less on being sticky. Content positioned by the user will not fail this success criterion. It only fails if the initial display obscures existing focusable elements and the pop-up behavior is not coded correctly. Content displayed above focusable elements is permitted if the content does not persist once an interaction has taken place. And modal dialogues will always pass this success criterion when coded following ARIA authoring guidelines and have a constrained keyboard interaction. Dialogues and pop-ups constrain keyboard focus until the pop-up content is closed. Dialogues and pop-ups may partially obscure keyboard focusable elements. Content which can be repositioned by the user is allowed to obscure keyboard focusable content. In the next unit, I'll look at 2.4.12, Focus Not Obscured Enhanced, a AAA criterion which has further restrictions with the requirements.